warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, senior BJP leader Vinay Sahasrabuddhe is also a man who's known as the political scholar of the party. Welcome, sir, on To The Point. My first question to you, sir, is that on the eve of the vice presidential elections, Prime Minister made a very important statement when he drew a parallel between the two eras. One was 1942 to 47 and the other, he said, was 2017 to 22. He said that these two eras can be compared in the sense that the nation probably could see a lot of transformation. And another point which he added to it was that now, because on the important constitutional posts, you have people from the same family and the same tradition. Now, the usage of the word family and the tradition, does it indicate a particular a dominance of a particular ideology?
Yes, of course. I mean, basically, when in democracy, it is always a kind of search for alternative ideologies, alternative policies, alternative theories. And therefore, this nation has witnessed dominance, rather a hegemony of Congress rule for several years initially. Thereafter, we had the dawn of opposition sometime in 1977, essentially. And thereafter, we have seen many opposition governments also, including that of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But at no point of time during these these spans of periods or times, we had a regime in which all the top 5 constitutional positions belonged to a particular single non-Congress group of family or a group of ideology rather. Here, for the first time, it is so happening. For example, in 77, we had Morarji Desai government. But then the president, vice president and all others didn't belong to Janata Dal or Janata Party Parivar as such. Same thing happened during Mr. V.P. Singh, who was the next non-Congress, so to say, Prime Minister of our country. And then we had these brief stints of H.D. Devegowda and Inder Kumar Gujral. There, that time also, it was a hodgepodge kind of a thing. Several opposition parties coming together and kind of having their own share, their own slice in the pie. And then we had Atalji's government. But of course, I mean, although Mr. Abdul Kalam and then Bhairo Singh Shekhawat, all were naturally the choices of the BJP at that point in time. But then Abdul Kalam was essentially a man who was above all ideological fault lines as such. And therefore, he could not be described, although, I mean, he was such an endearing president, a people's president. But we cannot we cannot bracket him to a particular ideology. So, in that sense, it was not so. Here, for the first time, it is happening, which brings in a greater sense of harmony, a greater sense of focus, a greater sense of purposefulness, because there is no friction. In that context, I believe, so Prime Minister's statement is very important.
Right. Since the time BJP government has come to power since 2014, there has been an ongoing debate between majoritarianism and minoritism. And coming as it does, it's also a fact that all the parties, they talk about the fact that India is a multilingual country, India is a multicultural country, and they talk about the multiculturality of the present setup. Do you also believe with certain voices which say that probably the society is heading towards a binary where you have a left, you have a right? But I would like to understand from you, you are a senior leader, you've seen politics growing over the years. Is there no scope for a neutral voice at the moment? Either you have to belong to the left or you have to belong to the right. How does a neutral voice exist in a setup like this?
Well, I mean, in India, we have always been believing, let 1,000 flowers bloom. So, all colors are welcome. I mean, I don't see a binary for that matter. In fact, I mean, there are multiple shades of opinion, why should one be saying that you be either left or right or grey or, I mean, several colors are there. I mean, the idea of dividing people on these lines itself is erroneous, irrelevant to the changing times, and therefore, it's totally meaningless, I would say. We certainly have, as I said, see, the Indian democracy has its origin in the spiritual democracy that we have been practicing for millennia. I mean, it's not something new to us. It is not that we were taught about democracy by the Britishers who left us in 1947. Much before that, this country has been known for spiritual democracy, which means ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. The ultimate truth is one, but we describe it in multiple fashions. And those who are wiser people, they call it by different names. But the truth is one. And that has been the thinking over here, which is why we welcomed all those who came from abroad, and they, in the process, in the course of period, they became a part of this Ganga Jamni Tahzeeb, as what we have been describing it. So, democracy is not something new to India. We have been welcoming pluralism. I mean, are we going to be told about pluralism by somebody from abroad? Is secularism going to be taught to us on the basis of what happened during the confrontation between the church and the monarchy, either in Britain or in Italy? Certainly not. We have all these things in our blood, in our body politic, and therefore we need not be getting lessons from elsewhere. Democracy is very much here, pluralism is a part of it, and the vividata mein ekata, we always have been saying that unity in diversity. But our emphasis has always been that the diversity is in fact the manifestation of the essential unity.
But the way opposition has raked up the issue of ideological intolerance for the last 2 years, obviously it has not yielded any political dividends for them. Obviously BJP has been on the forefront, but it does force the people to discuss, to deliberate on issues like this. What would you really tell the opposition at the moment?
Well, I mean, the national discourse picks up a particular thread and moves along, and whenever BJP is in power, people talk more about pluralism because of the wanton sowing of the seeds of mistrust about BJP by the opposition parties, and some people give in to that. In fact, the history of BJP tells us BJP was in power in Karnataka, BJP is in power in Goa, has been in power there. BJP is a part of government in Nagaland. BJP was a part of government in Meghalaya. In Arunachal Pradesh, we are currently a ruling party. Tell me, where has there been any problem? And those who are for their own selfish, narrow and I should say very reprehensible political ends are talking about pluralism and some kind of an onslaught on liberal ideas and things like that. Let me ask them, why are they silent on whatever that is happening in Kerala?
I was in fact
when
about
4
to
or 5 Dalit members,
right,
their only fault was they were picking the, I mean, they were taking the flag of BJP and RSS on their shoulders.
In fact,
is that a sin in our country? And you are going to tell us about pluralism? There cannot be any further irony.
I was listening to you inside Rajya Sabha when you raised that question on that day about the RSS killings in Kerala. But my question to you is that these RSS killings, this is not a new phenomenon. It has been happening over the years in a state like Kerala. Do these killings happen because of the ideological intolerance, or is it because of the political desperation on the part of the CPIM government?
Well, this question should be addressed to the CPIM who are presiding over the regime over there. They need to answer. And Mr. Arun Jaitley, our finance minister, has rightly pointed out that whenever the left democratic front is in power, there is increase in these kinds of murderous politics, in this kind of murderous politics. And therefore, it is for them to tell us why are they so very intolerant. And the chief minister is on record having said that not all the killings were unnecessary. What do you mean by that? Are certain killings, certain murders, certain attacks necessary? And then you are coming to the parliament and teaching us about pluralism and tolerance and things like that.
Okay, coming to the larger battle of 2019, the way BJP is increasing its footprints in impenetrable states like Odisha, Kerala, West Bengal. So these are the kind of states where BJP hasn't had much of presence, but BJP seems to be working overtime. How is it really going to unfold in the coming years?
See, every political party should be trying to spread its impact in every nook and corner of our country, because political parties are here to seek power, to seek mandate, and therefore they have to have their organizational footprint in every other part of our country. Likewise, BJP, right since Jansangh days, has been trying in this regard. Now there is some kind of a more conducive atmosphere. People are in a mood to listen to what BJP is saying. We have a very strong and able leader in our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and our party president Amit Bhai Shah. So the entire cadre is very galvanized, and we are taking the message of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas to every nook and corner. We are knocking every other door, meeting people, telling them. They are also reposing their confidence. We had a good success in the Jilla Parishad and Gram Panchayat elections in Odisha, and I am sure even in West Bengal we are going to get a huge amount of popular support in the days to come. So it's a routine thing. Why others parties are not doing it is for them to answer.
But talking about the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, what does the battle look like to you at the moment? Because the opposition is completely disgruntled, completely demotivated. They don't have a narrative to counter the BJP. So what does the battle look like? Is it really going to be a cakewalk for BJP?
Well, in politics, we never consider that a particular election is a cakewalk. But every election
At least
for
the
us is a
projections are being made right
people
now.
may have their own calculations, but we in a party like BJP are very serious about elections. We never take elections lightly. We are fighting elections to win them, and therefore we do our homework very well. We have all our groundwork perfectly ready before we face the elections, and therefore we are in the process of seeking a huge mandate from the people. No question of any cakewalk. Every election is a challenge, but yes, the opposition is in disarray. They are looking for issues and they are not getting them because of the pro-development good governance that is given by Prime Minister Modi and his cabinet.
But many analysts also say that BJP has adopted a guerrilla-like warfare tactics to fight the opposition parties, because opposition looks very staid, very dull.
Well, for a stale and dull and demotivated opposition, you don't require a guerrilla tactic. I mean, you have to go and tell your message. It's a democracy. It's not that kind of a war. So we are meeting. If people have lost contact, you know, in other political parties, there are vice presidents and general secretaries who are not available to meet with their cadre for 3-4 months together. And frustrated by this experience, people are deserting parties. So these are the questions to be answered by them.
What is that one improbable magical weapon probably would be there on the part of the opposition with which it can hurl the present government, maybe in the form of a new coalition, maybe in the form of a new leadership? Are you expecting that kind of a thing happening, maybe?
We have never taken any election lightly. So we do our homework well, and we are ready to fight the election 2019. What the opposition will look for and what kind of new issues they will pick and choose and then try to create an atmosphere around that, I cannot imagine. They are clever, they can do anything. But one thing is very sure, that the opposition has lost credibility. When we talk about politics of performance, they have only a politics of vote banks. All their political planning and strategy is based on vote banks. Beyond vote banks, they don't have anything, and days are changing. People are not going by identity issues, and therefore vote bank politics is almost on the wane. So maybe they will have to work overtime and find out some new tactics. But I am sure people in India, the voters over here, are not only smart and clever, but they are very wise and sensible. And they will stand behind BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi wholeheartedly, beyond any doubt.
In fact, I'll pick from where you just mentioned the politics of vote bank. Now that almost all the regional parties look obliterated, and as you yourself said that the opposition is almost like a nothing, what is the future according to you for the regional parties?
Well, as I said, see, if you scan through the history of all our political parties in India, and there are 1600 plus political parties in our country, only 50 parties are organizations that matter, who have some representation in either assembly or the parliament or somewhere. Of these 50, say for 7 to 8 parties, basically the BJP being the biggest party being the largest party of all these 7 parties, all other 43 parties are essentially family-based parties. So it's a dynastic kind of political setup that they have emerged through. And therefore, one can predict 30 years down the line who will be their president. The only child in their family who is now barely 8 or 10-year-old, maybe 30 years after, he will take over from the present president or his son or whosoever. So that is the hopeless situation here. And therefore, why will people repose their confidence in a party which is run simply on dynastic succession basis?
You also have regional parties which are your allies, like TDP, which is in Andhra, and you have a party like Telangana. Of course, they are not your allies, but they are there, where BJP is increasing its footprint in the south. TDP, one of the leaders, obviously not on record, but they did say that they feel threatened with the way BJP is making inroads into the southern state. So do we see a friendly fight with your allies, or is it going to be a go alone kind of a battle?
I don't think so. Basically, if you observe the history of coalition politics in our country, BJP has mastered the art of not only building a coalition, but also maintaining the harmonious and friendly relationships with all the political parties. I know that there are some issues of tension between BJP and Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, but the enduring alliance continues. There is no break in that. Likewise, even our alliance with Janata Dal United in Bihar, after all, they had to look for BJP only because they believe in BJP. Mr. Nitish Kumar is on record having said that we know this party. We have a more level of confidence with BJP. Assam Gana Parishad, for example, maybe couple of decades long history of our association with the AGP, and therefore all our allies are our friends, and we believe in harmonious relationship, we believe in mutuality. But one must understand that in the political setup, if between the two alliance partners, one party grows more and is able to get greater amount of mandate, then the situation changes, and everybody has to realize this. We had realized this, for example, in late 90s, when Shiv Sena grew and acquired more kind of seats in the assembly or in municipal elections, we sacrificed a couple of our Lok Sabha seats.
But you would concede to the fact that Nitish Kumar's joining BJP has really brought BJP's confidence to the threshold.
Well, of course.
Because there is a feeling now that BJP has already bagged 2019 battle.
Well, I think these are all very simplistic conclusions. I won't indulge in these kinds of things. But one thing is true, that whosoever wants to pursue very genuinely and sincerely a politics of development, BJP is the only ray of hope, and BJP has become a rallying point for all such forces, those who are very keen on pursuing a politics for development.
Now I have a few questions regarding the 70 years of Indian independence. And it comes at a time when BJP is almost at its peak and Congress is almost at its lowest mark. Looking purely in terms of symbols, how would you really see this divide after 70 years of independence?
Political parties are established for a particular cause. There are 3 things which go with a political party: an ideology, organization, and leadership. In Congress, unfortunately, I see a bankruptcy on all the 3 counts. It has no ideology as such, because Congress is, everything, and you cannot really pinpoint that this has a mark of Congress ideology, nothing as such. Then comes to organization. As I said, it is in bad shape, and there are umpteen number of examples. I need not comment on that. And insofar as leadership is concerned, their chosen track of dynastic leadership, dynastic succession, in a way has narrowed down their choice of leadership. If they had come out of that dynastic succession plan, then they could have got many more leaders. Why Mr. Sharad Pawar had to desert Congress? Because he saw no future for his own political career as such in late 90s. And that is why people are deserting Congress. So I believe that Congress had its own innings. Now it is the time that when the nation, this is an aspirational India that we are witnessing, and they want development.
In an age where the political parties, obviously the ruling party, is talking about a new India, an aspirational India, after 70 years of independence, do we really need to redefine patriotism and nationalism? Because this has been an ongoing debate for the last 2 years. There are a lot of confusions, a lot of misconceptions. But do we really need to redefine patriotism after 70 years?
We are not redefining. We have been, we are known as a party of nationalism right since the Jansangh days. So we are not in the business, we don't require to redefine it. It is people who are looking for some plank or the other to hit BJP, to criticize BJP. They have now made patriotism and nationalism their target. We never did it. We are always for nationalism and patriotism, and our patriotism is very inclusive. Our patriotism has its moorings in, as I said, the traditions of this great country, and these traditions themselves are inclusive. We need not even describe them as inclusive, because Indian tradition means inclusion, means participation, means taking everybody together.
But this entire debate about Congress's nationalism and BJP's nationalism, does it really make sense?
Well, as I said, we believe in the essential unity of this country, because from times immemorial, this nation has remained one. And which is why we say this is cultural nationalism. There are misgivings about it, and some people are, calling it names. But let me tell you, when I say cultural nationalism, I mean to suggest that in practically every other Indian language, whether it is Assamese or Tamil or Gujarati or maybe Kashmiri, we have similar kinds of sayings, proverbs. This unity is not through any government resolution. There was no constitutional kind of a thing which made us to have similar kind of terminologies and sayings and all these things. They are there because these are the basic notions with which we grew all along.
You wrote your doctoral thesis on political parties as victims of populism and electoral compulsions. I'm purely talking as a student. I would like to understand from you that does nationalism really reap political dividends for the parties like Congress or BJP? Does it really reap political dividends if you go out to the voters in the name of nationalism or ultra-nationalism, as many people say? Can political parties win or lose elections in the name of nationalism?
In our country, in fact, it takes maybe Herculean efforts to make nationalism as a rallying point, very unfortunately, because the kind of social divide which we have been witnessing, and then there is a linguistic divide also, then there are regional aspirations, and then there are political views and shades and all those things as well. And therefore, the divisive forces in our country need not even work overtime. Even if they work part-time, they have been able to divide this country, casteism, communalism and all these things. And therefore, the unifying theme rather, could only be nationalism. And we have understood it right since the days of Jansangh, and therefore we have been talking about nationalism. And it's not a sin to talk about nationalism.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, what has happened is that people have portrayed nationalism, those who are not tolerant to the success of BJP are now hitting with the very idea of nationalism. And this is not something which has happened all of a sudden. There are several friends belonging to the communist ideology who have written books telling us that Chhattisgarh is a nation, Chota Nagpur is a nation, Satpura is a nation, because they believe that India is a conglomeration of several nations.
We are in the last lap of our interview. My final question to you is that when BJP is talking about a pro-development agenda, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, cooperative federalism, you have so many ideas, new ideas with which the party is going to the voters. One question which comes to minds of the analysts and the perceptionists around every election is that what happens to the core agendas of the BJP, like Article 370, Ram Mandir, have they completely taken a backseat now?
Let me tell you that all these things, you need not be describing them as core agenda of BJP. In fact, all these things are the core agenda of this nation. There are references in our guiding principles of the Constitution to, say, for example, ban on cow slaughter. There is a reference. It is not something which we invented. Say, for example, Article 370. The Constitution says that it has to dilute in the passage of time all through the years. It should have been diluted. It has not happened. Common Civil Code. It is not our brainchild. There again is a reference at the time of the making of the Constitution framers had inserted all these things. Since all other political parties are wantonly disregarding these guiding principles, and BJP is not doing it because BJP believes in Constitution. Our Prime Minister has always been saying that the only book which I would follow and I have been following is the Constitution. So we have been talking about it. If others keep silent and if we talk, how does it become the core agenda of we alone? It is the core agenda of the nation. And then there are several other things also about which we have been talking, whether it is development or, say, for example, the interlinking of rivers. Right. Tell me any other political party that had talked about it. We not only talked, but we made it happen. In Madhya Pradesh, we have the Narmada and Kshipra rivers joined for the first time in our country. So we are a party of politics of performance.
My final question to you on your prospects. Your name is doing the rounds for the cabinet reshuffle. You might get a cabinet berth. You're known to be a silent worker of the BJP. Are you hopeful for a cabinet berth?
Well, it's all very speculative and it's not proper even to respond to these kinds of questions. I mean, I have been a silent worker, I have been a party functionary, and there are thousands like me. I am not the only one. And therefore, whatever responsibility the party wants me to shoulder, we have been doing it. There is nothing new about it. There is nothing special about it. And certainly, it's a speculative question. I believe it's your kind of way of wishing me a good luck. If that is so, I will.
My good wishes with you, Mr. Sahasrabuddhe. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here.
So that's it on this episode of To The Point. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.